something called Surf City, and it now is just about the #1 record in the whole country, and that's quite something. They have sold over 1 million singers and 150,000 albums of Surf City. It's on the Liberty label. This is what the album looks like. We always like to show you the albums that are done by our performing guests. So I guess you now know who they are and what they're up to. Let's give them a nice welcome. Here are Jan and Dean.
Two girls for every boy. I bought a 34 wagon and we call it a Woody. Surf City, here we come. You know it's not very cherry, it's an oldie but a goodie. Surf City, here we come. Well, it ain't got a backseat or a rear window, but it still gets me where I wanna go. Yeah, I'm going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. You know we're going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. Now 2 birds for every boy. They said they never roll his feet up 'cause there's always something going. Surf City, here we come. You know they're either out surfing or they got a party growing. Surf City, here we come. When I get to Surf City, I'll be shooting the curl, and all you gotta do is just wink your eye. And I'm going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. You know we're going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. Now 2 girls for every boy. And if my Woody breaks down on me somewhere on the surf route, Surf City, here we come. I'll strap my board to my back and hitch a ride in my wetsuit. Surf City, here we come. And when I get to Surf City, I'll be shooting the curl and checking out the parties for a surfer girl. And I'm going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. You know we're going to Surf City 'cause it's 2 to 1. You know we're going to Surf City, gonna have some fun. Now 2 girls for every, 2 girls for every boy.
Honolulu and Dead Man's Curve, a song that seemed to predict the terrible car crash which nearly killed Jan Berry in 1966. From 1964, here are Jan and Dean with a little old lady from Pasadena. And Dean Torrance. The great Jan and Dean place at number 8 in our countdown of the biggest duos of the rock era.
Just try to rock the boat over the coffin.
Over the years, the Uncle Floyd Show has had some great acts on. We've had Frank Monty and his guitar, Richard Jose and a singing lizard. We've had Pepe Villani. Are you guys familiar with Pepe Villani and the Villainettes?
Oh, yes. Very good.
And we have had some of the top acts in showbiz history. We had a friend of Carmel Quinn's on this show one night.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we had the peanut vendor and the beer man from Yankee Stadium. But the Uncle Floyd Show. We also had did you ever hear of Vin Scelza?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he played his Alaskan earmuffs on this show one night with some kind of thing. But we have never had two men who are so well known and so well loved and have sold so many millions of records across the country than Jan and Dean right here on the Uncle Floyd Show.
Surf Blankie in the zon. Ik heb een surfplank gekocht en daar wil ik nu mee spelen.
I go out and I get the top acts from my audience. You're ripping me off. That wasn't you guys. That wasn't your Surf City. That's not the Surf City I remember. That sounded like a monkey on the thing and whatever. That was wrong. It wasn't you guys.
Yeah. The Beach Boys, went to Holland and did their Holland album. Well, we figured, we had to do a Holland album, so we went to Holland, and now we did one, only it took us 12 years, and that's where we've been.
Wait, when you went to Holland, did you go Dutch? No, corny joke.
We're getting in Dutch.
Now, you put me on. Wait a minute. I can't believe...
Good morning, class. You got rock on your radio. Yes, class, and be sure to pay attention because this could be your day to get your rock and roll PhD. Because from now till noon, KLKC and the Doc Rock School of Cool Music bring you a rock and roll education. With your golden oldie degree, digging rock and roll records, the best music from the 50s and the 60s. Lesson for today will include, are you ready for this? The rock and roll sounds of Jan and Dean. All right. Gee, that'll be fun. The original hits by the original artists and all lovingly played by yours truly, Doc Rock. The original 50s and 60s rock and roll PhD.
See us everywhere.
Which means to say
Second hour, a new way to lose weight and keep it off. Whether we'll leave the studio at that time. And then the comeback of rock music's, anybody remember them? Jan and Dean are coming back. We thought we sent them away, but they're coming back. I like your tie, Tom.
Thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing all of that. Now let's do it. Good morning, the capital of California, that's Sacramento. And this is today, Wednesday, July 23rd. Lovely country up there at the top of the San Joaquin Valley.
Highlights from Moscow, the gymnast, and then Jan and Dean. They were big rock stars, 1950s, 1960s, late 60s, very bad car accident, out of business now, a big comeback, and Jan and Dean will be here with Kelly in this hour.
Okay, first, let's take a look at the latest news this morning.
Program for 2 years now. Since 1978, Dead Man's Curve came out, the television movie that brought a revival of interest in Jan and Dean, and they got back together as a result of it, and they are touring right now, and they are here in our studio, and we're going to see them.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay, but first with us, she'll be reporting on Jan and Dean. Remember them, the surf rockers of the 1960s? Well, they're back, and they'll be back with us right after these messages.
One of the all-time most successful teams in rock music was Jan and Dean. Jan Berry and Dean Torrance, high school buddies back in the late 50s, where they helped create California surf rock. They made records in Jan's garage that became massive hits. Surf City, The Little Old Lady from Pasadena, the prophetic Dead Man's Curve. Jan wrote that one. Then later, just as the song describes, he plowed his Corvette into a parked truck at 90 miles an hour. After weeks in a coma, he emerged paralyzed and with severe brain damage. Doctors didn't expect he'd live, let alone ever walk and talk again. That was in 1966, and that was the end of Jan and Dean musically at that time. Cut to 1978, 12 years later, their life story was made into a movie for television. It was called Dead Man's Curve, and from it they got thousands of letters from all over the country. Jan and Dean were rediscovered. Meanwhile, Jan had made great progress through the years, so they decided to team up again. And right now, they're on a 10-week tour of the country. Last week, I caught their concert in Central Park here in New York. That was Saturday night. Jan and Dean, Phase 2. Watch.
2 girls for every boy.
Jan and Dean, Phase 2. And this is Jan Berry on my left and Dean Torrance on my far left. Now let's talk about Phase 1 for a minute, because you guys were buddies and football teammates back at University High in L.A. How did your singing careers begin, Dean?
In a locker room. We found that the best echo that we could find seemed to be in the Uni High boys' gym.
Never found acoustics like that again?
Never did. Never found as good a sound. Well, we could have really made it big if we had been able to do all of our concerts in that shower room, but it just wasn't big enough.
Well, actually, you did all your records, a lot of them in the early days, in Jan's garage. Jan, both of you were writing songs, and you had 23 big hits on the national charts back then. And then, 1966, Jan had the accident, and he was in a coma in a hospital. How did that affect you, Dean? How did his accident affect you? Remember?
Well, I mean, there had to be a lot of replanning. We had both gone to school full time, so it wasn't as traumatic as it could have been had we not planned on that rock and roll wouldn't last forever. So it's just a matter of saying that for me, rock and roll is probably over, and I got to do what I theoretically was being trained to do in school.
Yeah, Jan was at med school and you were at SC. Jan, it was a rough comeback for you. Do you remember what it was like in the hospital?
Well, yeah, I remember that I was in the hospital. Yeah, that was good. But I remember the one thing that I could think for a while was Lou Adler coming into the hospital bedroom room, you know, and also Anne Margaret, and they were bringing a screen on the bedroom, and the played Laurel and Hardy or something like that. And I remembered that instant, and then in the future I was going to remember more, you know.
That was the turning point. You could laugh again when you saw Laurel and Hardy.
Right.
Dead Man's Curve, the movie that was very successful in 1978. How did you feel about it, Dean? Was it fair to you? Was it done well?
It was a pack of lies.
Come on.
Had NBC done it, you know, we were real happy with it. It was, for television, we thought it was a pretty darn good film.
And you helped out a lot with it. You actually consulted. How did you feel when you saw the movie and saw the accident on television?
Well, it wasn't really real true, but it was almost true. And the films and the scene was really bad. I don't even like to think about it, but it was a good film, you know.
And phase 2, of course, led to what you're doing now. Whose idea was it to get back together again and sing after that? Jan's? Well, Jan has always wanted to work. He really did, and he was still writing and working hard with it. Now you're on tour. Tell where all you're going. I know it's grueling.
Go ahead.
No, Dean can tell this.
Where are we going?
It's hard to keep track, I know. You should have them written down on your arm.
We're going, well, I know we're playing Long Island tonight at
Westbury.
Yeah. And then we go back to the West Coast. We're going to San Mateo, to a fair there in San Mateo, then up to Oregon, then from Oregon back to Florida, from Florida to New Jersey. We'll be in Wildwood, New Jersey. Yesterday we were in Virginia Beach, had a good time. There was actually some surf there. It's about maybe a foot high.
Right.
It breaks about a foot from the shore.
Describe
your music.
You're doing the surfing music still.
No.
Yes, you are. Come on, give me such a hard time. Here
well,
I
you
am,
had all that,
your
so I
buddy
figured
from
we'd tell you that we
California.
didn't do it anymore.
Describe your music.
Describe
Yeah,
the
tell them
music.
what kind you do.
Just West Coast California, kind of California, like lifestyle music. Just it's kind of a California consciousness of, you know, how you live in California. It's just translated into music.
You're really happy working, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, to be working again, it's really a treat, and it's like the second phase. Is that what you say? Yeah, and you know, it works sort of, and in the future, I don't know.
What about the future, Dean?
What about the future, Dean? We really don't. We're kind of taking every little tour just one at a time and trying to pack as much fun and as much music as we can into one tour at a time, and we'll see if we do any more.
While you're doing it, I was out at Central Park the other night. You had 4,000 people out there, and they were screaming for you. Dean Torrance, thanks a lot for getting up very early, because I know you were in late last night, these one-night stands. Jan Barry, God bless. Thank you. Good luck. You're cooking. Westbury Music Fair tonight, Jan and Dean. Hello, lady from Pasadena, Surf City, all of that. We'll be back right after this message.
Kathy.
Cut. Oh, good. Okay, what's your name, fella?
Dean.
Jan. Hi, Jan. My name is Dean, and I'm here to tell you that you're listening to the Bay Area's Golden Gate Greats. How do you like it so far?
I don't know.
Okay, goodbye.
November 8th, for one night only, see Jan and Dean at the Circle Star Theater, hosted by 1260 KYA's Noah Griffin and Bill Linkler. Get your tickets at the Circle Star box office, pass, or by phone at 365-5230 to see Jan and Dean November 8th at the Circle Star Theater.
Have you guys ever surfed before?
Bathtubs. Hot tubs. Nowadays it's hot tubs.
Yeah.
But we haven't surfed since June. We were surfing in June, which is really kind of fun. First time in a long time. Waikiki. Well, don't kid him now. It's quite a while. Okay, Jan sat and watched. I'll have to admit, Jan watched. He was watching all the girls while I was getting wet.
Yeah.
No, we we had also boards back in the early 60s. So we used to be out at Malibu on a big day, and there would be 5 people. And we thought that was crowded.
Yeah. Well, I remember an interview with the Beach Boys, and I don't know if they were just kidding when they said this. And you're very good friends with the Beach Boys, right?
Oh, yeah. Who?
Come on,
Beach
knock
Boys.
it off.
Oh, yeah, that copy group. I remember them.
Yeah, the guys that copied you. Anyway, they said that they hardly surfed at all, so I was kind of curious to see if you did that, or how about sidewalk surfing?
Well,
They were a lot of skateboards?
Sure. In fact, we've been skateboarding on stage almost every single night now for the last 3 or 4 months. Not that we want to. Yeah, the Beach Boys are really busy. You know, they basically worked almost every single night of their lives, and we went to school 5 days a week and kind of did it whenever we felt like doing it. So we had a little more free time to do some of the things that we all were supposedly doing.
I got one for you. Who is the little old lady from Pasadena?
Well, we'll have to admit that the little old lady was actually from Oxnard, but Oxnard didn't rhyme with anything. So, no, actually, there was a little old lady that was in I think it was a Southern California, maybe Southern and Northern California commercial back in the 60s where she drove a Dodge, and she'd blow off people, and she was just a character in a Dodge commercial. Now, we thought that it was a national promotion, and we thought, shoot, she's getting national exposure. Why not write a song about the little old lady? So we wrote the song came out, and then we found out it was only a local commercial. You know, nobody ever heard of her anyway, and this record was still a hit. So I guess, what difference does it make?
And tell us a little bit about Jan and Dean now. We're kind of interested to know what you guys are doing. You have your own business, isn't that right, Dean? And,
yeah, I have a graphics company in L.A., which I do a lot of music-related projects, a lot of album covers and stuff.
Talk about yourselves. What's your favorite TV program, your favorite food, your favorite current artist? Tell us anything.
Jan's favorite food is what?
Well, let me see.
Yeah, well, that's Famous Amos cookies can be found on his training table every morning, and Twinkies and Slurpees.
Yes, yes.
Tab, favorite TV show, what do you like? You got to talk quick, Jan. I mean, this is Top 40 radio.
Slurpee is awful good.
Yeah, Slurpees, so if anybody's got any Slurpees out there, just bring them tonight. We'll let you in free.
They'll hold you to it now.
Yeah, I know. I forgot about radio. TV shows? Gosh, I don't know. TV shows.
It's fun to figure out those kind of things, you know.
No, it isn't that much fun. Mostly, I guess I watch sports. I don't know if Jan is too busy chasing
What's your
ladies.
favorite team? Football.
Favorite team? Oh, of course, the Raiders.
49, yeah.
Of course, 49ers with O.J. I don't know about the Rams. We like Tampa, actually. Tampa's one of our favorite teams. And, of course, USC. Sorry about that.
You guys still live in Southern California?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We're Southern California boys, probably never move. We were talking earlier with you, Joe, about KYA and Teenage Fair, because we used to do a lot of stuff with KYA and the Teenage Fair at the Cow Palace, and those were a lot of fun back in the 60s.
Who are some of the acts that you appeared with at those fairs? Do you remember? Can you recap them a little bit?
Yeah, the Hells Angels.
They're still around here.
Yeah, I heard.
They're still together.
They're in the news a lot.
Yeah.
They got a better PR department than we do. Actually, most of the time we were there by ourselves. Although one of the biggest shows we did at the Cow Palace that didn't have anything to do with the Teenage Fair, we did it with the Beach Boys and Bruce and Terry, which Bruce Johnson is now one of the Beach Boys. Let's see, who else? Phil Spector, his band, the Ronettes. Who knows? We don't like that. That's back too far anyway. We kind of have surfer senility where we can't remember, 2 weeks ago.
We'll be back with Jan and Dean in just a second. Jan and Dean on Channel 1260 KYA, and it's good to have them back. Tell me, I understand that you have kind of a second-generation audience that has taken a whole new interest in you guys, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe just a new interest.
Yeah, it is. I think that's what really makes it satisfying, and it's mostly because of the film. When we sat down to figure out the demographics of the film, and you think about it, if it's
it was shown on a Tuesday night during Easter vacation and once on a Friday night, that there's a lot of young people home that's television night. You know, they don't have to go to school the next day. So, you know, possibly the parents were sitting around going, hey, we remember these guys. You know, you kids sit down, you're going to watch something that mom and dad want to see. And then so you had your 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds sitting there going, you know, hey, we want to watch Donnie and Marie or something exciting. And as soon as they sat down and saw that it was skateboards and surfing and kind of the same old stuff that they're doing now, they really related to it quickly. And most stations have been playing Jan and Dean records anyway. That it just gave them an identity finally, kind of heard over the last couple of years. And now those people are coming to the concerts, so it's a basically a very young audience usually.
One quick question: where is Surf City?
Jan, where's Surf City? Jan wrote the song. I don't know.
We never could find this out. You know,
in your mind,
myth,
right?
Yeah.
It's a myth, and as soon as we know where it is, Joe will let you know.
This weekend on Super Q. KBEQ, California Cruisin', all this weekend.
It's a weekend. KBE Super Q 318 and the Chris London Show on the Super Q California Cruisin' Weekend. And what better chance than right now to give away a $1,000 bill this afternoon? I'm placing a phone call to a number. Pardon me, folks. I have a wishbone stuck in the roof of my mouth this afternoon. There we go. One ring, and we're calling a resident selected at random from the Kansas City phone book. We're right in the beginning stages of a Super Q California Cruisin' Weekend. We're going to be zapping you with Beach Boys double-in concert albums all weekend long, also Jefferson Airplane albums, and Beach Boys concert tickets. We'll give it one more ring. I sure would like to give this money away. Well, it looks like Michael Grimes is not home. We'll try again within minutes to give away a $1,000 bill.
Introduce you to right about here. A couple of fellas coming all the way from California, eh? May we introduce you to that Surf City crew, Jan?
Thank you. We'd like to do a song about a city out in California. And when you get out there, if you ever get a chance, you might see a girl by the name of Honolulu doing a few tricks. But this is a song about that city. How about a big fat B chord there? All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I bought a 34 wagon and we call it a Woody. Here we come. You know it's not very cherry, it's an oldie but a goodie. Surf City, here we go. Well, it ain't got a backseat or rear window, but it still gets me where I wanna go. Surf City, come to the fun. Surf City, gonna have some fun. You know we're gonna
Dean Torrance, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I certainly am glad you took the time out to be with us. This is Dean Torrance, one half of Jan and Dean, one of the probably the greatest surfing group around.
I was one of the main guys in the group. This is one of the main guys.
Welcome to the program, and first of all, let me tell you how many people we've been getting phone calls from all afternoon saying, are you really having Dean on? Is he really going to be here?
That's probably my mom.
Yeah.
She's always trying to track me down.
So, what has Jan and Dean been up to since during this late 60s and the 70s? Because we sit here, we are the only oldie station in Chicago, let me tell you that, so we play your music all the time, and it's kind of different to hear this music and then look at the music of today, because things sure have changed since Surf City.
Well, as you may or may not know, Jan was involved in a one heck of a auto wreck back in the middle 60s. So he has been involved with a lot of physical and mental therapy since then. So maybe for the first 4 or 5 years he kind of dabbled in music, but spent most of his time going in and out of hospitals. So within the last 4 or 5 years, though, he's been spending more time on music, and we've done a limited amount of things together.
How did you and Jan get together? Was it by fluke, or did you really know you were going to be doing this surfing music for I guess, your whole life?
Oh, of course not.
I mean, did you...
No idea, and I guess that's what's fun, is when you really have no idea of where it's going to go. I would imagine it would be very difficult for somebody who had great aspirations of being in the entertainment industry and either not getting there or getting there too slowly or whatever. But it's quite a lot of fun when you're very young and naive and you don't have any idea or hardly even a dream of doing it. You just kind of do it for fun, and that's basically how we did it. We met in high school. We had lockers next to one another. We were both on the football team. And
how quaint.
Just somehow it happened that everybody would get together after practice and or after the games, mostly after the practices, and you'd be showering off and getting some of the dirt and grime and blood off you, and somebody would always start to sing in the showers, and it was a great sound in the showers, and that's how it evolved, basically. It was really from the showers.
Now, when you sat down and wrote the music with Jan and Dean, the surf and music, do you think you could have done this if you were not out on the West Coast? Could that sound have developed if you lived here in Chicago, say, for instance?
Well, I don't know about possibly the sound could, because the sound really was fairly generic. A lot of people were using that sound. I doubt if the subject matter would have been surfing, being from Chicago. But part of it would have derived from California, and part of it wouldn't have. There was a whole lot of other subtle things that came out of the West Coast music that
oh, for sure.
Were
I think
were highly identifiable with the music, or subtle parts of the music that only we would know about.
Got another question for you that'll probably blow your mind.
Oh boy.
How come Gas Money by Jan and Arnie never got much airplay? How's that for a question?
Well, I think that record gave most people gas. Probably. No, I don't know. I kind of like that record. I thought it was pretty neat. But in a way, I was probably fortunate that Jan and Arnie didn't have too many hit records after Ginny Lee, because maybe Arnie would have had a better time and decided not to go surfing. Which is a funny irony. Now these records that you're talking about were the late 50s, when surf music was still maybe 3 years away.
What's considered the first surf song, or the first big hit?
First big hit, I guess would probably be "Surfin'" by the Beach Boys, and/or there were instrumentals that were local hits, like Dick Dale was doing some instrumental things that, quite frankly, I mean, I don't even remember hearing.
Do you remember a song "Surfer Moon" by Bob and Sherry?
Surfer what?
The Surfer Moon by Bob and Sherry.
I don't think so.
The song Brian Wilson wrote and produced
Really?
back in '61. That I understand from some authorities. We play then. That's one of the rarest, supposed to be one of the rarest surfing songs around.
That sounds extremely rare.
We played that right
But
before.
the point I was making about Jan and Arnie, though, which was kind of funny, is that Arnie was Arnie Ginsberg, and of course the Jewish representative in the group. And when it came down to making more records after maybe Gas Money, Arnie decided that he didn't want to make records anymore. And we said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to go surfing. We said, you want to do what? He said, I want to go surfing. And the blonde guys that you would certainly identify with surfing were going, why would anybody want to go surfing at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning? That's absurd.
Why not?
So we'll make records, and Arnie, you can go surfing.
Got
He went surfing, and I hope he had a good time.
Sounds kinky. Listen, it's a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad you took the time out. We really
Well,
ran.
thank you. I hope Steve Martin won't mind. I'm supposedly working at this moment on a billboard for Steve Martin, and I'm doing his new album cover, which we may as well plug.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
When's that album due out, by the way?
Oh, fantastic! This
I
album,
love it. Love his material.
The old album, which I designed as well. That one.
Which one? Let's Get Small.
He's going to give me a platinum, platinum record for it, which will be my very first platinum album.
Oh, that's another talent I didn't know you possessed. Album designing.
That's what Kitty Hawk does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
That's
Okay.
a graphics company
Oh.
that specializes in packaging for music.
I'm sorry, I didn't put two and two together.
Well, now you have. What'd you come up with, though?
One final question just thrown at me again. I think, who was the song Linda about?
I heard that. Somebody told me a couple of years ago that Linda McCartney was going around saying that it was written for her.
Oh.
And I kind of chuckled and said, well, I didn't. She can say whatever she wants to say. But it was a real old song.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Paul and Linda for the very first time, just only about a year and a half ago. And Linda told me the story that it was written about her, but it was written for her when she was 1 or 2 years old, or maybe even younger, because the song was out in the 40s sometime. So when I heard that she said it was written about her, I thought that she had meant in the 50s, or actually early 60s when we did it, and I knew that the song was quite old. And matter of fact, a little bit of more trivia, her picture was actually used on the sheet music as a baby, and it said Linda by whoever wrote it. I forgot the name of the fellow that wrote it.
Interesting.
And it had her picture on there. So the song was written about Linda McCartney. Isn't that great?
Isn't that? That's just kinky. That is our favorite word here in the afternoon. I got to thank you for taking time out. We really ran up a heck of a phone bill, but what the hey.
Gee.
Appreciate you being part of the program. We'll have to do this again.
Okay, for sure. We should see if we can put together the conference line so everybody listening can ask the questions direct. That's really kind of fun.
Yeah, we got to thank everybody that phoned on in. We're sorry we couldn't get you on the air. We wish we could.
Well, we'll try it again, and you're welcome to call. You got the number, Wayne.
Right.
So,
hey, thank you so much.
Well, thank you to the old Chicago fans, and hope to see you soon.
Okay, you want to hold on a second? I'll talk to you off the air a second.
Sure.
Thank you. Dean Torrance, ladies and gentlemen, from Jan and Dean. Oh, my goodness, what a great interview. 17 in front of 4 o'clock. We have got to play some more Jan and Dean.
It's the little old lady from
from Pasadena. The little old lady from Pasadena.
From Hollywood, it's the Dinah Show. Today, the hit makers, the red hot stars from the blockbuster's billion-dollar record industry. The dynamite duo with 2 records on the charts reunited and shaped your grove thing, Peaches and Herb. The men who made the California lifestyle into hit records like Surf City and Little Old Lady from Pasadena, Jan and Dean. The articulate and informative parents of the Bee Gees, Barbara and Hugh Gibb. The dynamic singer who stars in the movie Hair, Ren Woods. The innovative, trend-setting singer with a controversial new album, Frank Zappa. And now, here's Dinah!
Feels so sexy. I have a collector's item. It's an. It really does feel
I'm
good.
jealous.
Are you jealous?
Yes.
Forget it.
It's
Too
my
late.
favorite color.
Too late. It's mine. I hope you really regret it. Okay. This is a collector's item. It's nothing for you. This is an anthology of hits from Jenny Lee in 1958 through Surf City in 1963. The makers of these hits were Jan Berry and Dean Torrance. I love this. It's a punctuation. It's 2 young men whose singing partnership was halted in 1966 by Jan's near-fatal car crash, resulting in brain damage, and millions of people around the world watched a 1978 dramatization of their story, a drama that was recently marvelous. It was absolutely marvelous. It was recently rerun, and the story was called Dead Man's Curve, because that was the name of their 1963 hit, which seemed to foretell the accident. They're here today to recreate their Dead Man's Curve hit with the Papa-Doo Run Run Band. Please welcome Jan and Dean. I'm here with Peaches and Herb and Ren Woods, and a pair of performers who have made musical history in their time and are making musical history again, Jan and Dean. Oh, yeah. You know, sure, just be blasé about that. That kind of enthusiasm. Did you really expect this kind of enthusiasm when you wanted to come back, both of you? Did you expect this sort of thing?
We paid them. No. For the amount of money we paid them, they should do it.
It's really worth it. I mean, I think you got, listen, you can buy the bodies. You can never buy that enthusiasm. And what you said was just kind of funny. Some of them were just barely being born when your records were big hits.
Well, so are we.
That's true. Infant recorders, that's what you were. How do you sum up the years that you spent between, well, the big hits back in the 60s and now?
Well,
Tough for you.
Well, Jan's been, you know, I mean, Jan, it's really been his game. He's, you know, he can tell you more about that since his accident. Just had to start all over again.
I, 1966, I guess, I was before the accident, the morning, as I drove into my break from the medical school, and that was hard just in school, at the medical school.
Sure, really tough.
And then I went to my draft board with the number, you know, and I was supposed to go into
nice little card,
into his Vietnam, and with his little number and all that, and you know, it was kind of hard.
It was a depressing day.
Yeah, right. And I walked out of the draft board office, and I got into my car, and I was real uptight, and I went out towards Whittier, and I didn't see another truck that's parked, and I passed, and I didn't see him coming the other way, and was screamed just really broadside. It was really but I don't even remember the accident because I had was unusual before, and it was rough. But anyway, I had to recover all over again.
You had to start practically, really, the basic things. It's like learning to walk, to talk, to be able to handle, make muscles move that were reflexive before.
Yeah,
you know, it's incredible how you've done. I mean, I think you're fabulous. I saw. And listen, Richard Hatch is beautiful, and so is Bruce Davidson. But Well, you know that it really was remarkable. And I sensed in the last part, and I was asking about, you know, the pride that you had when you never would call on Dean to help you when you wanted to put your music down. That was a difficult time for you, too, wasn't it? When he wouldn't allow you to help.
Well, I was used to it.
Yeah. Really?
And we'd been friends from high school.
Yeah.
I knew what the game was always his way. You know, you learn to manipulate. I mean, I did have. I didn't pay you guys to laugh at that.
It's okay. It's a bonus. Don't ask questions.
I guess if you're friends for a long time, you know, those things don't. And I was hoping that the film did project that overall, you know, I mean, we were close, and it didn't make any difference.
Yeah. It made a big difference, though, I think, in the way people suddenly began to realize the trauma that both of you were going through. At the time, you were working at something entirely different. You would never really go back into music, yet you couldn't leave it. You designed album covers.
Did that one?
Did you do this one? Yeah. That's a beautiful cover.
Thank you.
But you did. You did some.
You guys need any graphics tonight?
Yeah. I do. No, what about you? You designed covers for Linda Ronstadt. For whom else? You did.
Beach Boys, the last couple Beach Boy albums.
Yeah. Well, you didn't buy that one, no. That's
no.
Okay. No. Do you have
Beach Boys bought that one?
Yeah. Freebie. They got a freebie.
Steve Martin did the last. Steve Martin.
Do you do a lot of performing now? Have you done many concerts?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you could call it a lot of performing. We're just kind of poking around every couple of weekends. Nothing like what they must be doing.
No, well, they're on the road. How many months out of the year?
13. We hope 13.
Yeah. 13 months out of the 12, yeah. That's tough, but I bet you'll make it. And she commutes back and forth.
We take 13 months off.
13 months. You learned how to do that gracefully, didn't you? But when you perform live, because there was a very delicate moment in the movie when you were playing to you were lip syncing to a recording, and the machinery broke down, the record player broke down, and that was a very touching scene. That really happened?
Oh, it was absolutely the truth. We remember the booze. I don't know if I'll make it real short, but actually it didn't really happen that way. But they felt, the people making the movie felt it was too complicated to explain exactly what did happen. I thought it'd be funny to program a tape that sounded like a record skipping, because like back in the 50s and early 60s, a lot of stuff was lip sync, and we even did concerts where you did lip sync. It was standard policy. They have a little record player, and they put on a record. They'd say, here they are, and they put on your record, and usually it was the wrong side or somebody else's record. And a myriad of things would happen. You know, it would skip, it would go off, as I said, it'd be the wrong thing or whatever. So I decided to program a tape to sound like all these things were happening to this record, and I thought it'd be funny, and everybody would get a big laugh out of it. Nobody understood the joke. You know?
They don't know.
He didn't even understand. I couldn't get it. It's just weird.
It is that's a weird sense of humor, because I mean that's an inside joke and a tragic.
Crack me up.
It would crack you up unless you were in front of a large audience and it suddenly happened, which I'm sure has happened to all of us. Every once in a while you get out there and everything is perfect, and then you find out wasn't you there? It was some sort of a clone. That was a dramatic license that they took.
Well, they just felt it was too complicated, and you know, people wouldn't really understand why, and that is rather stupid for somebody to do. So they just said, forget that. The tape did, in essence, sound like it. You know, at least the audience did figure out it was lip sync, and that was the important issue.
That was it, sure. I felt very close to you through all of the problems and troubles that you had, because my nephew was with you for a very short time, John Seligman. And after the show goes up to Ashland, Oregon, we can say hello to, what'd you call him?
Soggy.
Soggy? My sister's not going to like that at all.
He was a Soggy. We'll remember him as a Soggy.
Soggy. He was a Soggy.
That's him on the piano there.
That's John. I want to thank all of you. They tell me I have exactly 10 seconds. That's all the time you've got to read that book, because you have to give it back to the kids. You'll just look at the pictures really fast. Thank you, Jan and Dean. Thank you. Thank you, Jan. You're great. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Guys, hold on the girls hold on. All the way back from Dead Man's Curve, Mr. Jan Berry.
I do a fan club newsletter for Jan and Dean. So what's your name for the record?
No comment.
Somebody else used that name last year.
Did they?
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. The drums on Lulu and Drag City and Wipeout were really outstanding. Were you playing that, or was somebody else and you were just pretending?
It was lip syncing.
Yeah.
I was lip syncing.
Like
I
Dean's
used to
guitar
play with
solo?
I used to play with Milli Vanilli.
Oh, really?
And now Jan and Dean hired me. Out of the goodness of their heart. And,
That's good.
I'm a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
What you saw was a recreation simulation. It was actually all on tape.
And the sweat, you had like a sprayer off
That's right.
the side.
You noticed that.
Spraying you
I
down.
didn't fool you with that one.
No, I
obviously.
noticed the sweat, yeah.
You knew that one.
Because
Okay.
it
Well,
wasn't...
everybody else I fooled, but you've obviously seen that before.
Yeah, well, if you'd have had some salt in that spray water, you see, it would simulate sweat more effectively. But,
I'll have to remember that for my next show.
but I do think that it is good the way you have outdone Dean on the hair.
Well, this is actually a wig. This is a wig.
Well,
I'm bald.
What else could it be with the fake sweat and the fake drumming and
That's right. You
fake hair?
You guessed correctly.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
All right.
Have you met Tully?
Yes, right. I know. I was going to say something. I was going to say something about baby, but never mind. Baby talk, or I don't know. Yeah.
Listening to a holiday special with the fabulous Beach Boys and Dick Clark.
You know, it's sort of interesting. You'd figure that with the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean competing for the top spot on the charts week after week after week, they might have been sort of protective of each other's material, sort of like, Xerox and IBM zealously guarding each other's trade secrets. But according to Dean Torrance, that really wasn't the case.
Actually, we were recording at the time Brian walked in. He listened to our tune and kind of shrugged his shoulders. It was a pretty average tune, as I remember. And Brian said, well, hey, listen to my tune. So he sat down and he played Surfing USA. And we went nuts. I mean, we said, Brian, that's really, really great. So Jan tried to talk Brian into giving us Surfing USA. And Brian said, well, I don't know. I think I'd rather keep that for ourselves. But I do have another surfing tune that is similar. I don't have time to finish it right now. I've kind of lost interest in it. But the basics are there, and he sits down at the piano and he plays Two Girls for Every Boy. That was the opening. We said, we'll take it.
Now, Brian remembers it this way.
Jan asked me, he said, well, would you sing with me on the lead of Surf City, on the lead part? And I said, yes. So I doubled with it, but he was louder than I was. He, of course, he didn't want to make me louder than him on a Jan and Dean record. Imagine that.
I love it.
Brian and Dean.
2 girls for every boy.
Jimmy Gilbert and the Farballs with Sugar Shack from the fall of 1963. 1964 was also the year that Jan and Dean recorded a tragic mini-opera. Dean Torrance recalls.
In our West Los Angeles culture, there was a place on Sunset that all through high school, the pinnacle of driving your car was to go through this place that we call Dead Man's Curve as fast as you could. At one point, we were losing a lot of friends on that corner. I don't think anybody was really dying, but there was a lot of totaled cars and a lot of I think getting thrown in jail.
Can't you believe in yourself?
figured to book for some promos for my radio show.
Okay, I think you made yourself a deal.
Where's the bag? Let me get that.
Oh, this is on, so,
Yeah, it's running. Where's that folder?
You're learning your rock and roll ABCs with Doc Rock. And J stands for just the two of us. Dan and Jan and Dean. Excuse me. Hi there, this is Dean Torrance of Jan and Dean telling you that you've got Doc Rock on your radio. You're getting a rock and roll education on your way to a boogie woogie degree with Doc Rock and Dan and Jan and Dean. Excuse me. In the rock and roll ABCs, D stands for me and my dad, Dean Torrance, junior and senior. Summer means fun with Doc Rock and Jan and Dean, and a record, or something like that. I think that's just plenty.
The album is called The Malibus. Here's the cut Dean Torrance is on, one of two that he's on the Malibus album. Dean's never heard it. They never sent him the album. Album's called Malibu's Rule on Rhino Records, distributed by Phonodisc in Canada. I'm sure everybody's wondering. Here comes the big one. Where's Jan? Jan who?
Universal Studios, Flo and Eddie, brought to you by Miller Lite, where less filling tastes really great. 92.3 K-Rock.
Can I just mention a few things there? That Venice Beach clown was talking, and I'm just reading. I'm just going to read you a few songs here. Barbara Ann, Heart and Soul, Honolulu, Drag City, Dead Man's Curve, Ride the Wild Surf, Sidewalk Surfin'. I mean, this is a list that any rock and roller, and when Bob Seger sings Rock and Roll Never Forgets, they never do forget Jan and Dean. And sitting right in front of us is Dean
Torrance is here.
Thank you. Hey, and isn't it great that Rock and Roll Never Forgets because the Porsche is paid for?
Yes, it certainly is. So, yeah, I'm certainly very happy about that.
We go back a long... Let me add another long to that. Long time, man.
Yeah,
Early
certainly
60s together. I mean, when we were Crossfires and you were headlining all over the South Bay area, even before you broke out national. Man, stars.
And Jan and Dean are still out on the road touring as much today as ever, right? How many days a year do you got?
Much today as ever, but we never really did much
So
to
you
begin
never
with.
did. So you don't work at all.
Doesn't really doesn't mean.
How many days a year will you guys be out on the road? I mean, doing conventions, fairs, parties?
About 6.
About 6.
Is this the right guy?
I don't know. Is it?
Oh, you wanted him down there.
Dean!
Oh, the guy with the real Porsche.
It's really unbelievable, though. I mean, how the music has really kept alive through so many of these movies and TV shows and stuff that use your music.
Yeah, we've been extremely lucky. I mean, we've been really lucky because I was at our record company a couple of months ago, and I just happened to intercept a fax from a company that wanted to use Surf City and wanted to rewrite it and call it Sludge City.
Yeah.
That was their bitchin' idea, man. Yeah, it's Sludge City, yeah. So we were very...
Some
I
metal
just
band, right?
kind of took the fax and crumpled it up and threw it in the waste paper basket.
How many records do you estimate Jan and Dean have sold worldwide? I mean, this is a stupid off-the-top question, but, guesstimate.
You mean for real or what our record company
real.
paid
You don't
us
have
for?
to inflate it. Just
No, what they say, and then we'll ask you what you were paid on.
I swear, I haven't really ever really sat down and figured it out. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
20, 30 million records.
I don't know. It seems like a lot to me. But
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
let's
let's go with 5, 10. You know,
I think they were paid for 5 or 10, probably.
Yeah.
How did where did the song "Little Old Lady from Pasadena" start from?
Not very far from here, actually.
Right.
You know, just down the street.
down the road, Pasadena?
Yeah, down in Pasadena. There was a local Dodge dealer out in Pasadena that decided that that they would cleverly make their own commercial, and they made this commercial with this character that they probably got from Central Casting, who was a legitimately old lady, and they did this commercial, which was real cute. Jan and I saw it, and we said, "Wow, you know, that's an interesting character." We were writing songs about cars and stuff, but we're always trying to put a different twist on it. We said, "Yeah, an old person in a like a full race, something or other, would be really really fun." So, and plus, of course, because of our marketing skills, we realized, well, this is a commercial, so people will already be familiar with, you know, with this character, and obviously once Dodge hears this, you know, they'll put it into their commercials, and we'll make hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds, which is about right. Well, I want to play that to kind of familiarize our audience. Classic rock and roll started with such people as Jan Barry and Dean Torrance, and Dean Torrance of Jan and Dean is sitting here joining us, and we are going to indeed play that commercial.
What a great thing. Little Old Lady from Pasadena. This is Jan and Dean, New York's classic rock and roll radio station, 92.3 K-Rock.
92.3 K-Rock, where every day is a no-repeat day. Jan and Dean, right here, Little Old Lady from Pasadena. You must be having a great resurgence every year with sidewalk surfing. With skateboarding is bigger now than ever, and that song was one of the foremost skateboarding songs ever done.
Yeah, I have like little 12 and 13-year-old kids that come over to my house now that are finally impressed. You know, they were never impressed before, but all of a sudden they go, "Oh man, you know,
you bust your buns,
bust your buns, man.
I knew about this a couple of years ago."
You also with I guess really with Dead Man's Curve, and everybody knows the song Dead Man's Curve, but also it kind of was paralleled the life of one of the members, Jan Barry, who ended up on Dead Man's Curve, and they made a movie, probably one of the first kind of rock and roll style movies that talked
made
about
for
the
TV,
life.
everybody saw it.
Yeah, it was, we were very lucky to have that made, and I thought the movie was done pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of what it could have been awful, but for its budget and the people that were working on it, they really cared about the real story, which was lucky for us.
How's Jan doing?
He's doing pretty good.
Is he? Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, he came back from the death, really. I mean,
he wasn't expected to live.
At all.
No.
He was completely like...
And once they determined he was probably going to live, they thought, well, he'll never get out of bed, you know, and he'll never be able to stand up. And so then he stood up, and they said, well, he'll never be able to do much any more than that. And,
he proved them wrong.
We do about 75 concerts a year.
There's the answer for the question.
That's
15.
question number one's answer. 75.
That's amazing,
concerts.
and he's still out doing it. And I, honestly, when we worked together a few years ago, he's singing and singing on key, and well, as on key as Jan ever sang.
Right.
Let's be.
He was never exactly.
No, Dean, you were the guy. I mean, you were the guy. I mean, I don't want to just, diss Jan.
You did sing with the Beach Boys. What was some
and
of
vice versa. You guys would always sing on each other's records.
Well, you guys know the story. Brian loved to just make records, and that was what all Brian wanted out of it. And the rest of the guys liked playing live too as well, and meeting the chicks and kind of that part of the business. So Brian decided he would stay at home and make records. And since Jan and I were in school most of the time, we used the same recording studio, so we were always around. So if Brian needed a couple extra vocal parts, the Beach Boys would be in Hawaii playing, or Des Moines someplace. We were probably right down the hall, and it was just out of convenience. You just go down, knock on the door, and say, "Come on up here. I need a couple of vocal parts." Oh, okay.
And that happened on a huge hit. I mean, you had a huge hit actually that way because. What was the song you ended up doing with him that was the biggest hit?
Barbara Ann.
Oh, Barbara
Your
Ann.
voice is just the predominant lead vocal.
Andy, I think that's a cue, because now we get to do it all with you. I've always wanted to do this live on the radio.
No, that's
come on,
such
it's
pressure.
Come on, no, back to New York. These people. Do we do the start? If we start it, you remember the words? If I went ba 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 Barbara Ann, ba 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 Barbara Ann, take my hand. Got me rockin' and a rollin', rockin' and a reelin', Barbara Ann, ba 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 Barbara Ann. Went to a dance, looking for romance, saw Barbara Ann, so I thought I'd take a chance, Barbara Ann, ba 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 Barbara Ann. You got me rockin' and a rollin', rockin' and a reelin', Barbara Ann, ba 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 Barbara Ann. No, you don't want to hear him play it.
No, don't solo.
He's soloing.
Hey, keyboard. Hey,
okay,
whoa.
Wait a minute.
Hey, whoa.
Stop. Okay, and
Holy
I gotta say, but we did another one together. We did a song. We actually went in and sang with you on the song "Ride, Ride, Ride the Wild Surf." Do you remember that? Keyboard player.
No,
Come
he
on.
doesn't know that.
How did it go? It is a
Hell, I don't even know that.
Ride, ride, ride. Ba 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 ba.
No, shut up, keyboard player.
How did it go? How did it go? Ride, 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 ride.
Yeah, it's not my record. It
I
was
know, I'm
Dean's
asking
record.
you.
Dean's sitting a foot away from me. You're asking me how his song.
No, it's hot. I can't. You know, the sun's got me. And
Yeah,
can't
I
remember.
know.
Yeah.
That was really kind of a stupid song. I don't remember.
It was very orchestral, yeah.
But
Actually, it was neat. Yeah, it was orchestral, and it was probably one of the most up-tempo Jan Dean songs. It was one of our very first. Most of our songs were kind of shuffles and kind of
And a lot of death.
and a lot of death.
You know, you
and
dealt with a
little
lot of teenage stuff.
Yeah, a
It
little,
was,
yeah.
Were you
okay.
guys scoring a lot of chicks on the road when you were?
You,
I know
you knew we'd
This is-
get to it.
This
no,
is
but
New
your
York,
wife,
right?
she's a
Yeah.
long way away.
Yeah, long way
You'll never hear
You
it.
bet. Hell yeah.
Because I know when this album came out, there was even one period of time that you were like making it with Jan's girlfriend, and Jan was like with your girlfriend. What was all that about? I mean, were you guys?
that's
we were,
great.
you know,
That's-
we were just ahead of our time. It's just like wife swapping, except we weren't married. You know, so it was just
Girlfriend swapping.
swapping.
Don't
I mean,
you?
that, come on, you
chronicled
guys
that on
did
a-
it too. Come
we
on.
did it, but
All right,
we're still doing that. Actually,
No one can hear us here, right?
no one can.
New
hear
York,
us.
we're okay. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we were doing that.
But they were
I knew
always his cousin.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, when we were in trouble, I would always tell my wife that we had a bad time.
Oh, a
last
bad
night.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Howard's cousin.
And then he would tell his wife.
Bad accident. Mark's
With
cousin.
Mark's
It was
cousin.
bad.
So we were
And
always,
they never think of that.
Yeah, we got family everywhere.
man.
We're connected.
Oh,
we have to be so careful.
Yes, I
So
bet.
you're still making records all the time. You're always throwing out these little. Look, I've got one right in
Well,
front
yeah,
of me.
but that's just for our pals. You know.
And how about the stuff you did for Radio Shack? You guys made
Well,
albums.
those are pals too. They used to take us to Hawaii all the time.
We
And
almost
on
made
cruise
it
trips
onto a
and stuff.
Radio Shack album
I know, we
with you.
came
What
close.
happened?
I don't know.
You went in there and sang what? Eleanor, right? You
Yeah.
sang lead on Eleanor. We went in and
Eleanor.
you
Come
might
on, we'll
not
do
know that.
Eleanor
You might
together. You got a thing about
It's your part,
you.
Dean. No. Can't
live without you.
Yes.
I really want you, Eleanor, near me.
Yeah, it's Dean and the Turtle. Okay, Andy, shut up. Okay, that's Andy Kahn.
Andy
We'll give him
Kahn
on
on keyboards and steering wheel this week.
Yes, Andy is cruising around doing it. So you're doing 70 shows on the road, day in and day out. And how's Jan holding up? I mean, you guys getting along? I know that there's time and again, you guys are always going through your problems. You've been partners, 30 some odd years?
Yeah. Actually, we don't argue. We never argue about the regular stuff that most partners would argue about.
What do you argue about?
Like cars and stuff?
No, we'll probably argue about how much gold he's wearing around his neck or something like that, or let's see, that I think that there's too many chocolate stains on his T-shirt, or something like that.
That kind of stuff,
yeah.
right?
I mean, they're really important issues.
He has people who travel with him to look after him. I mean,
No, we're his traveling people that look
Is
out
that
for
it?
him. Yeah.
Really?
He,
So,
he
you
used
know,
to
he
get
had
in a
more
lot of
going
trouble,
on.
like starting fights and things like that.
Oh,
and,
he was an aggressive boy. Yes.
and even during the early records, was that a problem? Was he a terror to work with in the studio? And
Yes, but Yeah, I mean, he was the one with the real vision of this whole thing, and Jan was a great producer. I mean, if you listen to those records are very well produced, and you know, he had an IQ about 175. He was going through med school at the time of his accident. He went through pre-med at UCLA all during the time that we were making records. And the guy was brilliant, and he was a great arranger, a great technician, and he had a pretty much a commercial ear too.
And that
as well.
was Jan and Arnie, the original records with Jenny Lee. And I know you did another hit they had on top of that with Arnie Ginsberg. Was that Arnie Woo Woo Ginsberg?
No, I wasn't Arnie Woo Woo, but Arnie Woo Woo wanted to take credit for it, so we let him.
Oh, we just love saying woo woo.
I know, it is fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Woo Woo Ginsberg.
That was the coolest thing. But for you, the first band, one of the first white bands I ever heard say things like bop a bop bop a dip dip, things like that white people would go, hey, what is that? That's, you know, that's soul stuff. That's music that we don't sing. You made it okay for surfers everywhere to lose their minds and say nonsense syllables.
Well, we just didn't know any better. I mean, those were the records we were listening to, and we were influenced by what we were listening to. We weren't necessarily sitting around thinking about what color we were or what color those guys were. It's just the music we liked.
Yeah.
So we just copied it, you know, and emulated it. And then later, when one of the after a couple of hit records, we decided to go out and tour, and we ended up on this tour with all these black groups. And it was at that point that we realized that most people thought our records were black, and they didn't mean to put us on this tour, but we had a great time. It was
kidding.
Little
Heart
Willie
and
John,
Soul, they thought.
Little Willie John, and Richard Berry, I think, was on
What
that
a
one.
tour. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the
Walter.
two whitest people in America.
I tell you, we would come out, we were like in the middle of the show, and like, you know, every act would get these ovations, you know, because it was all black audiences, and they would introduce us, you know, direct from Hollywood with their hit record, Baby Talk, and this, you know, the screams would go up, and we'd walk out, and it'd just go silent.
Vacuum. All the air
Kind of going,
sucked
wow, you know, and they're covering their eyes because we were so
bright.
so bright. You know,
With your blonde hair, and there you come walking out. That's just.
So it was really fun because, I mean, we enjoyed it, and once we got into the song, and we had Little Richard's old band with us, and
you guys were also innovators as far as mixing rock and roll and comedy. You were the first people I ever saw that could do their hit records and yet were asked to host the Tammy Show, which solidified your niche in history. And, you know, for ages to come, people will see you guys skateboarding around the stage and singing your hits and introducing the Rolling Stones. All right, we are back, and we are live from Universal Studios
You hear
in
that sound?
Hollywood. Yes.
These are the sound of all of the people who have called in when they heard Herman Munster for the last 2 weeks.
And they won't have to ever hear him go, ooh, again.
And we are going to draw a name.
Or it looks like Piffer, or P-I-F-F-E.
Where's she from?
From Glendale, Queens.
All
Congratulations,
right.
Lisa Beck, our grand prize winner. She's going to join us on this coming up here at Universal Studios in Hollywood for our fantastic giant party behind the scenes. It's
Saturday.
gonna be great.
Big
Yay.
party right here on the lot
Clarence
of Universal.
Clemens, Alice Cooper.
And we'll be there too, Lisa. I know it's a little step down from Clarence Clemens and Alice Cooper, but
Congratulations. This was a great, huge contest, and I'm really glad you won, Lisa.
sitting in with Dean Torrance. And one last thing we always ask our guests when they're here joining us on the Flo and Eddie show is to sing Happy Together with us.
How's that go?
I'm going to give you the words to that. You must know. Come on.
Let's say the words.
I think we knocked you out of the top 10 with Happy Together here.
Gee, look, the guy knew Eleanor. Now we're searching for
No,
the
I
lyrics.
have the lyrics here.
Oh, you
I
do?
know
Yeah,
they're
I
here.
don't
Or
know.
did Kevin Meaney take them with him?
I can't see why.
Are they here? They must be around here somewhere. I know we
this
got
is that
them.
valuable
Let's see.
airtime
That's
you
the-
keep hearing
there
so
they
much
are.
about.
I knew. Wow, there's high society
Hey,
with
put that back.
Elvira News.
No.
Okay. All
Later.
right, we're going to play Happy Together. And
I
during
remember this one.
Here we go. All right.
I recognize it.
Okay, Howard, you
Here
help
we
him
go.
out.
Here we go, Dean.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together.
This is so cool, Dean Torrance.
If I call you up, invest a dime, and you'd say you'd belong to me and ease my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.
Big chorus. Everybody.
I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life.
And Eddie
when
and
you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and you, and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together. Oh, I know my bop. Now I do the horn part.
You always did.
I know. Sorry.
This is Flo and Eddie live at Universal Studios Hollywood with Dean Torrance. Thanks, Dean, for dropping by. We get 30 years of sunshine music with Jan and Dean, and we'll be right back here. New York's classic rock and roll radio station.
Thank you.
92.3 K-Rock. Thank you, Dean Torrance.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Two girls for every boy.
Good work, guys.
Once again, the record company succeeds where all else fails.
I was wondering if you'd read that issue of Sunshine that dealt with the British invasion versus Jan and Dean. How do you see that? How do you view
That thing I was doing, Jan Dean versus the Beatles stuff. That was great. I got a lot of letters and stuff. That was great.
For a long time. I always wanted to hear your point of view. In other words, if Jan and Dean had been promoted like the Beatles, would you have been able to do what the Beatles did, or was it via something else?
I think just about anybody that had hits, if you had a string of hits, I think that was, we could have maybe done it back to them in their homeland. I'm not sure here because we spent too much time here. We weren't an oddity.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They were very different. Also, music from another, kind of another country.
Right.
Oh,
Are you a Beatles fan?
Oh yeah.
I thought so.
I mean, be a Beatles fan.
I liked your John Lennon dedication. That was very right.
But it's all, you have to have, they had vision. They had real vision. They knew that stuff that it was big business. They understood their persona. They understood humor. Brian did. Somebody did. I had a good friend, Harry Nielsen, who was, in quotes, the fifth Beatle. Harry's got
Your looks intoxicate me, even though your folks hate me. There's no one like you, Eleanor, really. Eleanor, gee, I think
When I go to sleep, I never got cheap. I got all the charms
about Linda.
And lately it seems in all of my dreams I walk with my arms about Linda.
But what good does it do me? 'Cause Linda doesn't know I exist. I can't help feeling gloomy, thinking of the loving I've